Much has been said about taking care of your shower on YouTube. Much has been said about taking care of your tools. Much has been said about taking care of your vehicle. Well, some has been said. Not much has been said about taking care of you. So, I have the wonderful benefit of getting my health taken care of, which I appreciate a lot. And these are one of those days that I'm going to do just that. I have been very, very fortunate over the years, as old as I am, not to experience any type of catastrophic health issues. But as I get older, I'm trying to eliminate or at least offset some of these issues, that minor ones that are creeping up as I'm getting older. I can't do my work if I'm not healthy to do it, and I don't want to get to the point where I physically cannot do my work, because then I have to find out something else to do at my age. So I'm just making sure that I'm on point with every opportunity I have to get taken care of and have those health issues mitigated, or at least looked at and treated if those spring up. And as I said, a few minor issues have came up that I can, or that I have to deal with anyway, and hopefully nothing major ever comes up. But I still have to make sure that I'm on point to get things taken care of prior to them getting worse.
Just look at that. You're gonna be all right. Be still. You gotta be still. You gotta be a big boy now. I'm gonna get you this one here because it's really good.
Oh,
you did good.
I know. I always do after the fact.
You come on, I know. Hold on. I bet they ordered a lot. After this one, I got to get 2 more, okay?
Oh my God, I can't stand needles. I have had a nail pierced through my head before. I've had a broken bone before. I've had some injuries. Not really bad injuries, but I've had some injuries before that hurt. But if you want to see a man act like a little girl, stick a needle in me. Holy moly, I can't stand that. I'm at a house, kind of on a consultation type of thing, where homeowner did their own tile, their own shower too, and there's a little bit of lippage here, a little bit of, you know, tile not matching tile, especially these 3 together. It sounds hollow because they used Curdy Schluter products. In fact, when I go upstairs, I'll show you the other bathroom where Curdy Schluter was used. The only issue, and I'll talk about that upstairs, I'm not going to get into that product right yet. So this entire shower was done with Curdy Schluter products. So this curb, what I call a fake curb, this is a foam curb, which is why it's so high. Normally curbs aren't quite that high, but it is. This is a Curdy Schluter drain, Curdy Schluter backer on here, and I believe this is also the Curdy Schluter pan, or the Curdy pan as it were. So it's a foam pan. This is a foam curb. This is panels with little squares in them and all that stuff. So this is also foam. It's a completely foam shower, completely, from the walls to the floor to the curb and everything. The only reason I take exception to these products, well, there's a lot of reasons, but the main reason is it's overkill. It's not needed. for the purpose of waterproofing. That's my take on it. But to make a homeowner satisfied that everything is monolithic and everything will be waterproofed, then yes, then it's a good product. Especially with the shower pan, trying to get the proper slope and all that stuff matters. And if you haven't done one before with the mud and all that stuff, then this is a good product to use to get everything flush to the drain. The problem with these products is that nothing in here is warranty, because you have to actually be certified through their school for any of these products. So if any of this failed, if there was water penetration of some sort or some type of issue with regard to a leak or something like that, then the Curdy Schluter rep would not pass this right off the bat. They wouldn't even come out here because this homeowner was not certified by their school. So having said that, everything else after that is very subjective. All of this material that you see, that you physically see, and any mistakes that you see that I'm going to point out are irrelevant, because this is all basically wall covering. This is all pretty stuff. This whole shower, as the homeowner said, could be used without one piece of tile on here, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So because this is all very, very subjective as far as how it's set, as far as how it looks, as far as the pattern, design, any of the discrepancies that you'll notice aren't relevant. They're only relevant to the homeowner. And until we have 4D out here, so that you can feel what I feel, you may not notice. These mosaics are very difficult to set in a lot of different ways, because this one specifically was on a 12 by 12 mat, so all these strips were taken off and put on here, and that one wasn't rubbed out very well, but they're put on here, and then these pieces were put on here also as a mosaic, as it were. And what the homeowner didn't realize is that as you push these down, they don't push down evenly. So there's a lot of ways to mitigate that issue. One of them is to be, since they use Curdy board anyway, you could have just put this flat on a piece of Curdy board, cut to this size, and then retroactively stick that onto the wall. Or you could put a piece of Curdy board or 1/2 inch Durarock and glue that to this area and push these down flat so that everything matches up to the tile. In this case, it's not done, and it looks like a wave. And again, you can't feel it, and I doubt you can see it, but there's a lot of discrepancies going on that didn't really have to happen if the homeowner had a little bit more knowledge in how this stuff is set, or how it's easily set, as opposed to a lot of these bump outs and dip ins and all that stuff. And it's not straight, and I think that they struggled with spacing, having a spacer up under these tiny pieces. So there's a lot of ways to space out tile, even small tile. This is a big bump out. Even small tile can be spaced out. I use spacers, I use screws, I use pieces of cardboard, I use everything I can to get my spacing straight. They don't have to be literally spacers in the true sense of the, ooh, look at that one. In the true sense of the word, they don't have to be spacers. So what I suggested going forward, if they ever do something like this again, that they could actually cut a long strip of cardboard, you know, to stick in here. And cardboard comes in different widths also. So they could have stuck that in there and set these pieces on top of the cardboard. But just little tiny tricks and stuff like that that you can make happen. These don't really match up, which is not a big deal. That all has to do with math and making sure that the bull nose and everything fits in there correctly. This tile looks like it's bent in as opposed to this one being flat, but they did do a slope on here. The problem is the bull nose sticks up a little bit too far, so the water is going to pool right on this grout area, which again is not a big issue. So I'm not really picking this apart just for the sake of picking it apart. There's a big gap in there. One of these tiles should have set inset instead of both of them having kind of stopped here. So I'm not picking it apart just for the sake of picking it apart. I'm doing this for a specific reason. Look at that. I'm doing this because this one was done by a homeowner, which overall, especially with this rock tile, isn't bad. You hear the foam? It feels hollow, doesn't it? or it sounds hollow because it's foam board. The reason I'm kind of showing you the difference between a homeowner's job and a so-called professional is because then they hired an upstairs bathroom to get professionally done. And this guy fell a little bit shy. I'm not going to critique his work too much when I go upstairs. And this isn't really a critique either. This is showing you the difference. If the guy upstairs had done this shower, it would have looked a little bit better. I take exception to the way he actually did some of his tile work, and I'll show you that when I go upstairs. But it would have looked a little better than what this does now. Even tiny little stuff like this rock was cross-cut, so that you could turn this rock over. You could have gone with your saw up to a certain point on here, and then flip it around and then cut so that you can get off all the excess piece of tile that was stuck there, rather than cross-cutting too far, which is what they ran into. So it's those little tiny tricks and little tiny things that matter when you have say a professional, somebody who's done showers, somebody who's done tile a lot will know a lot of these little tricks like I mentioned on the mosaic, as opposed to a homeowner who doesn't know. And in the end, it doesn't really matter because, you know, they're happy with the job. They know what those flaws are. They know the faults. They know the things that they did wrong, and they won't do them again, I'm sure. But, you know, they're proud of their work, and so am I. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, literally, this homeowner from scratch built this shower from cutting the shower pan material and gluing it to the floor and the drain and, you know, all the stuff. I don't know, because I didn't ask if they actually put in the valve or not, but all of this stuff was done by the homeowner, and I'm like, yay, that they're actually able to do something like this. I think they were quoted with the floor and all the stuff that you see about $5,000, and they saved less than half of that doing it themselves, and that's wonderful. I have no issue with somebody doing it themselves. And in the end, as I said, oh, by the way, this strip is not plastic. I thought it was plastic, but apparently they're making aluminum transition in different colors, which is great. A lot of people don't like the silver, and I think the limited 3 or 4 colors transition strips come in. So now they're making different colors, which is great. But as I was saying, in the end, what you end up with is what you like. I mean, this is a thing to be proud of. This is a thing that somebody can say, I did this. Every time they go in a shower, they can say they did it rather than they hired it out. And I think that's wonderful. But because they knew that mistakes were being made, they decided to hire somebody else upstairs, and we'll go up there now. Alright, this is an upstairs application, and as I mentioned downstairs, they started out with the Dietra Curry Schluter product, as it were. It's a Dietra mat, is an uncoupling membrane. I don't use them. Again, things have to have a reason, and I've never had a problem using backer board, Durarock, and stuff like that. As far as like putting flooring down and mitigating any type of cracks in the grout or cracks in the tile or anything. So that people use this stuff, I don't have an issue with. I just personally don't like the product. But the tile was done very well on the floor. 1/8 inch spacing on a diagonal. That is very well done. I like it a lot. I like the stone look, and as you see the shower, you're going to see more of that stone look. It's like an old-fashioned type stone thing going on. And we're going to go over this and talk about it a little bit. Again, not so much for the critique value, but more so that you kind of understand so when I say mistakes, they're small, tiny mistakes. When I look at the bathroom, and I've inspected it prior to doing this video very well, there's only a couple of things, maybe 2 or 3 things that I take exception to in here that would be a typical homeowner mistake and not necessarily a contractor. So he was very good at setting tile. Setting tile in that things are symmetrical, things are done right. Look at here. A homeowner, as a rule, isn't going to be as good at cutting the trim and cutting this tile, you know, mitering this tile where it needs to be mitered to match up and all that stuff. So, and this, by the way, this is also a foam bench. In fact, everything in here is foam. This is all Curdy Schluter, same as it was downstairs. So this is a foam pan. This is a Curdy Schluter drain. This is, as you see, and as I talked about downstairs, this is and the foam curb also. So I guess what I'm getting at is that this guy did an outstanding job. All the lines match up. You know, the trim is neatly done, pressed up against the tile. I'm not seeing any discrepancies there. You know, nice 45 cuts around the niche. Curdy Schluter niche as well, as most of you already know by now. The cuts are nice. They're nicely done. There's nothing that I can really that screams out at me. In fact, this is herringbone, and I hate doing herringbone, and that he took the time to do all this, and that it's symmetrically it's all even and all that stuff, you know, is great. The floor is nicely done. It's again a mosaic, one of these octagon type of mosaics that I don't like doing because they're so difficult to cut pieces around the perimeter and all that stuff. But he set the tile on top of the mosaic, which is great. I mean, there's a lot of things here that just show me that he's a good tile setter in some regards. Now, to the critique part. If you notice, and I don't do Curdy Schluter, as I've already mentioned, but I'm aware of how to do it. And one of the issues is that, well, probably the biggest issue is that Curdy Schluter is orange, and you shouldn't be seeing orange after you set the tile. So everywhere you look, there's orange showing. There's orange, 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 and you shouldn't be seeing that. And the main reason you're seeing that is because he didn't trowel out his thin set. So troweling out your thin set on any wall is paramount. That has to happen. Then you back butter your tile and you stick it on there, and you've got a nice surface. And then what you would be seeing in here is, I'm sure there's some somewhere, you would be seeing thin set everywhere you look in these cracks, and there's not the thin set. So I'm not really, even though I'm impressed by his cuts and by his overall symmetry and putting things together and all that stuff, I don't know why he's not troweling out his thin set onto the wall. It doesn't make any sense to me. And you can clearly see where this Schluter has ripped apart and ripped apart. And this is the reason why. Let me show you one of these tile that were taken off. Basically, he's spot bonding. So what he did is he troweled out the same thickness of thin set you would end up with anyway. He troweled out thin set onto the tile itself and then stuck it straight to the wall, which is why when they ripped this off, it ripped off some of the Schluter material. And so what he ended up with is spot bonding. Not in the true sense where you have spots of thin set that are put up there. If you'll know what spot bonding is, look it up, which is the wrong way to do it. But in essence, what he ended up with is spot bonding because he had one spot here, a small one here, and a larger one here, with all this troweled out thin set being meaningless. It didn't do anything. It didn't help. It didn't keep the tile up. And same with this piece here too. So some of it stuck. Some of it stuck here and ripped off some of the Schluter, and some of it didn't stick because it wasn't done right. But which is a little odd considering all the other stuff that he did right. It's a little odd that he didn't know how to actually set the tile. The application of it matters a lot, and I mean, the prep is all done great, you know, considering that this guy hadn't done Curdy Schluter. The homeowner apparently had researched it for hundreds of hours and knew exactly how to put it together, had even called Curdy Schluter on some advice type of stuff. And so everything was put in per their instructions very, very well. And without any tile, same as downstairs, you could take a shower in here. But the application of what I call the wall covering, which is what all this is, does matter in the end, because it matters when you're trying to, if you were trying to pull one of these off, it would be relatively easy. I could probably get a screwdriver in here and just pop this tile off. Will the grout help bring everything together and make it more solid? More than likely, yes. And I would suggest a stronger grout than just say polyblend or something. But in the end, as I said, you know, I'm not trying to critique this job. There's not a whole lot to critique except for that. There are a couple of things that bother me a little bit, like this little piece here, which matches that little piece here, which doesn't match because that one is cut smaller than that one. and this rope over here is longer than that one, not by a lot, but you know, enough to kind of bother me. There are 1, 2, 3 and a half, or a third, and a half and a third, and then up there there's 1, 2, 3, 4 full pieces. So why that happened, I don't know. The math should have worked out with those 4 pieces from the top, same as the bottom. That could have been mitigated easily because they did it here. So you cut a smaller piece, you know, like they did here, 3, 4, 5 inches long, and have that match up to that 3 or 4 or 5 inches long, and then you do the same thing at the top, and then you don't need that little piece, and then you have full pieces. But anyway, small potatoes. The herringbone in the corner, the right corner and the left corner don't match because you don't have side-by-side tiles anywhere. So yeah, little tiny things like that that in the end aren't really that relevant. That's the best I could do with a critique of this. The worst thing is the actual setting of the tile, the application. But otherwise, you know, fantastic job. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. You can click on those. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.